Hey guys, Kimi here. Hope you've been well. I've been generally okay. Things have been a little rough, hence sort of the purpose and heart of this video. Please excuse the sound. I know there's a bit of an echo. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with narcissistic abuse. Not because I want a pity party, but because I want to help anyone who's kind of going through the same thing. Mind you, I'm not a licensed health professional, so please heed that warning. This is just my experience. Also with people who have not been professionally diagnosed either, but nonetheless, I still feel like it is important to share my experience so that I can help those who might be going through something similar. So recently we saw this video of Steven Crowder. It's been going around the internet. I've been a little bit plugged out of social media, so I might be a little bit late to this. People might have already ran the gamut of this conversation. But I just wanted to bring my experience into some of the things I've seen. Now, it seems from the video that was on social media, it seems like that video is dealing with a sort of heavier complexity of abuse. And I know that YouTube's not gonna like that word, so I'm not gonna use it that much. I might just refer to it as A. From what I've seen in the Steven Crowder video, a few things that I could relate to personally from my life and my life experience. Even before I get into that, I'm gonna just be generally referring to about like three very, very, very distinct experiences that I've had with narcissistic abuse. And I'll just be wrapping this up into sort of a general experience because a lot of them have a lot of similarities, but I also don't want to invite these really negative people back into my life by just singling them out. So one thing I noticed about Steven Crowder and this clip that surfaced on social media, YouTube, with him berating his pregnant wife, absolutely horrid video, absolutely wretched moment, is the fact that facing the public, I believe a lot of people loved Steven Crowder. A lot of people, he was highly influential, financially successful, and on camera you could absolutely see his charisma. And I think in my life, that's something that has been absolutely consistent across the different narcissistic entanglements I've been involved with, I would say. And one thing that I have noticed all across the board is just the angelic reputation, almost savior-like reputation that is presented to the public that is quite different from the monster you see behind the scenes. I have dealt with that in terms of the people being, connected to the people in my life, being connected to people with power and fame, being financially manipulative, but also through that manipulation, being financially successful, just having such an angelic charisma that people are drawn to and attracted to, such that when certain accusations come out or brought to the surface, people often dismiss those experiences because they only know the sort of front-facing, public-facing persona. And that's something I can 100% relate to. It just makes calling out certain instances, or even as like the victim, believing that certain things are happening to you that much harder because you see how well they're loved. You see how much everyone puts faith in their brand and their person. And it just sort of makes you second guess yourself when bad things start happening to you. So the second thing I noticed is, well, this is not very evident on camera, but in my experience, because these people have such a charming wit about them, in the beginning, there is sort of this, you fall in love with, and I say fall in love with kind of platonically and across the board because this stage is referred to as love bombing. But you're sort of entranced by this person just giving you everything in the beginning, just like giving you time, knowing exactly where your holes are in terms of your life. Like, are you lonely? They will spend time with you. They will be your companion. They will just absolutely shower you with their presence. Are you maybe lacking financially or, just lacking in any other way? They will fill that by giving you gifts and just making sure that they just pour into you that way. And the thing that I've noticed because of my experience in this stage of love bombing is that the one way you can tell that it's off and that this this is probably unhealthy is that it is very intense over a short period of time. So I'm kind of making a graph with my hands, but it's very like ramped up over a short period of time. And I just believe that moving forward, if anyone ever falls into this sort of pattern again, learn to navigate the time and just let your thoughts sort of, do their math, do their little figuring it out thing, and just like ask yourself, is this a natural timing of friendship? The truth is, you do have other friends. When you are under this like charming spell of narcissists, there's a sort of tendency to think like, I've never had a friend like this. And so you kind of forget your other experiences with other friends because you're just like blown away by their grand gestures. But I think it's very important from what I have experienced, and to make sure I never fall into this again, hopefully you never fall into this again, is to just measure out the time this is taking place, because these tend to be very fast. And as a Christian, I just believe that the Lord has just set a natural order for certain things on this earth to take place according to a certain pacing and time, if that makes sense. Like when we plant a seed, it's in the ground for a bit, and then we have harvest, and there are these certain natural rhythms to life, like aging, like we grow old in a particular time frame. And so I believe the same kind of, your gut feels the same way about certain friendships progressing a little bit too quickly. So I think that's something to definitely be very careful of. And the last thing, I don't want to make this video too long, but the last thing, again, this video with Crowder is very, very scary, and this phrase is talked about so much, is trusting your gut in the midst of gaslighting. So, in the video, Crowder is, as bystanders, we can look at this and just be like, that's absolutely wrong. But it's hard to really understand the process of slowly turning different moments, different instances of aggression or abuse, like ramping that up slowly but surely. And eventually, like for example, in the video, Crowder was like, you're not doing wifely things. Like, I need you to just do this to show me you love me. Do these chores, da 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 da. Gaslighting, at least from what I have experienced in my circumstances, has been more of pretty similar, but I know that it doesn't start out like on 10. It starts a little bit like, just a little bit of passive aggressive, maybe distance if you didn't do something, and then when you try to talk about it or confront and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make this mistake, or I didn't mean to offend you in this particular way, the person will sort of train you into not doing that next time. Say, maybe you didn't take the chicken out and put it in the sink, in time. It's sort of like, well, it's your fault, and you always have these problems with time, and you always have these problems with not putting my needs first, and you only think about yourself. So please, next time, do this. And it sounds like a very reasonable thing you can compromise with and be like, sure. But then the circumstances start getting crazier, and next time they'll bring that instance up when, say, you were busy doing something of your own, and they're like maybe at home, but they'll bring that up again. Maybe say you make a mistake and you're too busy preoccupied with your life. They'll bring that up again. They'll be like, hey, you're so bad with time. Like, why are you like this? Like, you should have been home at this time to take care of these needs. And meanwhile, in your head, you're just thinking of all your shame and all the guilt that you feel because this is like something that happened in the past. But really, the logical conclusion should really be, you were home, you could have done it, and I was just focusing on my things, on my life, on my work. So that's the insidiousness of gaslighting, is not that in the moment, in that particular argument, say for example with Steven Crowder, like, the insidiousness is not that he was making those illogical statements and accusations. The insidiousness is that this probably started with very small things, maybe right out of the love bombing phase. Absolute speculation here. I was not there, but I'm just kind of drawing from my experience and just placing it over what I've seen in this clip. He probably started with the small things, and it snowballed where he felt it was reasonable enough to accuse his 8-month pregnant wife that the things that she was doing and the things she was paying attention to were unloving because she wasn't making time for Crowder. She wasn't being aware of her wifely duties. And so it's pretty obvious she understood, like, this is not okay. This is abusive. This is horrible. But for a lot of victims, even up to that point, it's such a mental chain and mental cat and mouse game that it's very hard to realize that you are the victim in this instant, and what is happening to you, what is being spoken of you, the mental that you're going through is absolutely wrong. So I just hope everyone stays safe out there, stay wise. I mean, I highly recommend the book of Proverbs as a Christian, as a believer. That's one thing you can look into. A second thing I highly recommend, please get into therapy, or maybe consider deliverance again as a believer. I do believe there's spiritual underpinnings to this. Whether you notice prideful narcissistic tendencies in yourself or you have been the victim of definitely get help. Consider therapy, consider counseling. These things are very, very dark in terms of eroding your soul. So please take care of yourself. All right, guys, I love you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.